Hi, welcome to WorkZest. Today I want to share one of my favorite questions for one-on-one feedback. How do you think that went? I know not everyone is a fan of using such an open-ended question, so I wanted to talk about why I think this question can work so well. In my previous video, I talked about the importance of layering meaning into the things that you do, and the reason I love this question is because it does exactly that. At the surface level, it gets to establishing common ground before you start giving your feedback. At the implementation level, it helps them practice a really important skill. And at the cultural level, it sets the standard for how you're going to do work as a community of lifelong learners. Let's dive a little deeper. At the surface level, establishing common ground before you begin giving feedback is very valuable. It's really hard as an employee taking feedback when it comes as a complete surprise, where you're thinking that your performance went one way, and all of a sudden you're getting feedback from a completely different point of view. I can't tell you the number of times I have been so thankful I asked this question before I began talking, because it allowed me to center my employee and begin working with them from where they were, so that they didn't have to try to figure out what I was saying or where I was coming from. They could listen in on everything I had to say because I began where they were and led them to where I was. At the implementation level, this is also really valuable because you're not just giving them feedback on their performance, but by using this question, you're also giving them feedback on how they assessed their performance. By making sure that you're connecting your feedback to their perception, you're making sure that they know how to better evaluate themselves and align their perception of their performance with yours in the future. My favorite part about this question, though, is the cultural level. At the cultural level, this says to your team, we are always learning, we are always improving, and we're responsible for that growth. I expect you to know how you're performing so that you can be looking for ways to continue to improve. I'll admit, at first, these conversations can be kind of hard. People aren't used to being asked this kind of question, and they're not used to being taken seriously when the question is asked. If that's really what you're doing, if you're committing to valuing what they have to say, they're probably going to be a little disoriented, and you're going to have to take the time to get them used to taking this seriously. Over time, you'll see your conversations begin to shift in tone. People will begin to trust you and think that you're taking this seriously, but they'll also be getting practice on being constantly aware of how they're performing instead of just doing without thinking, and also on how to give this feedback to you so that they're ready to have this conversation. Over time, this will begin to make for some cool transformations in the conversations because the people who are always 100% confident will start to notice areas for improvement, and the people who never thought that they were succeeding will start to begin to recognize some of their successes, and your conversations will really shift in tone. You'll also start to see the conversations begin to become more complex. You're streamlining the process by having them come prepared for the conversation. When they begin to notice all of the little details that you used to have to point out, you can start to spend your time on feedback talking about the bigger picture and helping them really take their performance to the next level. My favorite part of this process, though, is when your team starts to believe that this is the way to have conversations. By always centering the person you're talking to, by using the power of the question, how do you think that went? You're giving your employees a tool to talk to one another. You're helping them understand how to have these conversations in a productive, non-threatening way, and starting the standard that that's really okay and it's something they should be seeking out and willing to give. So, how do you think that went? I always love to hear questions and comments, so you can find me on my social media channels and let me know. You can find the links to them on workzest.net or at the end of this video. Look for me on LinkedIn and Facebook at WorkZest or on Twitter at AskWorkZest.